Welcome to Healthy and Wealthy Conversations, where we discuss everything that leads to health and wellness for your whole spirit, soul, mind, and body. Hi, and welcome to Healthy and Wealthy Conversations. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today's guest is Jamie Lerner. Let's get the show started. I see you are in the field of health and wellness. Was this something you were raised in a household this way, or did you get this way over time?
I think that I was always connected to myself from day one. And as a result of that, and staying connected to myself, I think that I created a lot of well-being for myself throughout my life. So I would say, yes, it is our birthright and it is my birthright, well-being and connection, which is all part of health and wellness.
When did you, well, you say you've been this way. When did you start your pathway to do this as a profession? What was the inspiration that caused you to do this as a profession?
So from a really early age, I was fascinated with the interpersonal relationships of people. And I knew I would go on and study psychology in college and do this as a profession. So I got my master's in social work and went on and did psychotherapy with some people and had a thriving private practice, all along kind of knowing that maybe there was another way to help people without looking back. So I gave all that up and I traveled and studied, and now I'm doing something different, which is the integrative approach to well-being, which is assisting people in assisting themselves from getting to where they are to where they want to be.
I like that, how you say that. Assisting people in assisting themselves, because something people have to realize is the only thing other people can do is give you tools. You have to basically do the work. So talk about every day endless opportunities.
So I believe that contrast, which is everything other than what we're wanting for ourselves in the moment, is a wonderful opportunity for us to step into a place of clarity. Because when we know what we don't want, then we're crystal clear about what we do want. And I think until we know what we want for ourselves, and we can really not want for another. We must want for ourselves and create for ourselves. But that's such a big question to ask ourselves, what do I want? You know, most people spend their whole lives avoiding that question. So once again, I think contrast creates the endless opportunities for us to develop a sense of clarity and to begin to point us in the direction that we ultimately want to go. And I think for most people, that's connection and happiness.
What to you is the art of allowing, and what does it mean to someone who's on their path or journey to health and wellness?
The art of allowing is definitely an art and it's a practice. Allowing is being in such a good place with yourself, where you are and who you are, and knowing that you then can extend that same opportunity to other people, which is I can be where I am and who I am in this moment, and then I can extend that same opportunity to others, not ask them to be someone different for me or to be somewhere different for me. So it's really a nice way to move about the world and create relationships when we can feel good about where we are and just allow people to be where they are instead of always asking them to be different for us so that we can feel better. And unfortunately, when we do not know where we are with ourselves, we are always looking outside of ourselves and pointing our fingers at others in judgment. And that's just projection, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't help us create relationships with ourselves or with other people.
That's definitely something I've noticed. We as humans have a problem with, you said, placing blame. And I believe that happens is because we expect people to, as you said, we don't allow people to be who they are for us. So we expect them to change. And when they don't change, that's when, you know, arguments and relationships go awry. And then we start blaming people because we don't understand it's not their job to be something for us. We have to accept them as they are or just not have them in our lives. And it's not easy because we're not really being taught this, you know?
You're right. And it's interesting, once we are clear about where we are with ourselves, it is just the natural extension of that to allow others to be where they are. So it all starts with us. It's never about the other, which is a difficult thing for people to hear because a lot of people don't want to take personal responsibility. And I think, once again, we are in a society that applauds the victim. So that further makes it complicated for people to step in their power of taking personal responsibility. And I think that's where all our power is.
What is, change your storyline, change your life? Explain that for me.
A lot of people don't even know what their story is, but they go on and on and on and on, and they recite it incessantly because they get a lot of attention. Usually it's filled with drama and trauma and things that society and friends rally around and applaud. However, is that really the life you live? And how does it feel when you're telling this story? So when you ask people to do a little fact checking about, is this really your story? Is this really the life that you are actually living? And they're able to pause and take a look at it. They begin to see, most people, that they have exaggerated, hugely and grossly exaggerated, a lot of things that happened long ago. And because they've gotten so much attention for that, they've never stopped to ask themselves, how does this actually feel when I'm telling this story? And is this story true? So once people can identify that, then I just ask them maybe to do a little updating, maybe edit, a line of the story or a sentence of the story or a paragraph or a whole chapter, because I think that when we're able to look at what happened then from our adult now perspective, it changes the entire feeling of the story. We're not young anymore, we're adults. And hopefully we can use all of those things that had happened to us as a way to empower us now and to talk about what happened in a way that we can become an inspiration for others. So there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, that is definitely, I used to have that problem where I would exaggerate my stories, and it's definitely something I had to learn not to do, especially just recently. I wasn't in the middle of an argument, so to speak. I heard two sides of a story, and I could tell either one or both of them weren't being honest because the stories didn't come together, so to speak. They were basically both blaming one another. And it was like, well, this one said you were the fault, and now you're saying they're the fault. And it's like, so I didn't say anything because it wasn't in my business. They just decided to tell me this story. I knew though someone wasn't being honest because the stories didn't mash. And I truly believe because we're taught as a child, when you're wrong, you're in trouble. So we're afraid to be wrong, so to speak. So we exaggerate. We tell this part of the story that makes us look good and leave out the part that makes us look bad, so to speak. And so I definitely agree with you on that.
Well, and there's really nothing wrong with that, except that when we are adults, we feel that we're not being genuine with ourselves or with another. And then there's this feeling of shame and self-doubt and other things that go along with that that really inhibit us from relaxing into who we are and creating a life that we want to be living. So, yeah.
So you have a book out called The EverLoving Essence of You. What is this? What is it about?
The EverLoving Essence of You is a tribute to my mom. When I was very young, I did not feel any kind of connection with her, although she was present in my life. And my parents were wonderful, and we grew up this an amazing home filled with international students and people and experiences. But I spent half my life trying to figure out how could I be so connected to myself and not to the person who brought me into this world. And the book is about creating a long-term connected relationship with ourselves moment by moment, because I believe that if we are not connected to ourselves, then we cannot connect with others. Our relationship with ourselves is the very foundation for every other relationship that we go on to create with another. And the book just gives some tips and suggestions and tools for how to create and then maintain that connected relationship with ourselves.
And
And
I'm
it's a very, sorry, it's a very
sorry,
loving
go
book.
ahead. Oh, okay. So I'm assuming basically you're saying be balanced as far as connecting to yourself. In a sense, don't be so connected to yourself that you're not able to connect with others. Make a balance between being connected to yourself and being connected to others.
I don't think we can be so connected to ourselves that we're not connected to another. I think that when we're connected to ourselves, we're so open to receiving another in such a loving and unconditional way. It's a win-win. To be connected to ourselves feels really good, because it means that we're in a state of well-being. We feel comfortable in our skin, and we're in a place where we're able to receive people, and we're not bothered in any way by who they are or where they are. And that's what real connection is with ourselves. It feels great. It feels good to us, and it feels good to the people that are around us, because we actually, through our own connection with ourselves, put others at ease.
I would definitely say I didn't know about being connected to myself and didn't begin to be connected to myself. And I hate to say this because so much bad has happened because of the pandemic. In the same breath, the pandemic is what made me connected to myself, because right before the pandemic, I was at a crossroad of I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know who I was, and I really didn't know what I want. I could not form with words what I wanted. It was always I don't know, like, because I literally didn't know. And I guess you could say during this time period, I've been more, because it's challenging when you have, this is what you're supposed to be, this is what you're supposed to have, this is what you're supposed to do. So by the time you remove all of what they're telling you and you ask, well, what do I want? It's like, I honestly don't know. And I'm still learning how to be connected to my true self and reconnect who I really am. And it's not easy. It is, though, it does feel, I feel more free than I've ever felt in my life, getting rid of what people want me to be, what they're told me I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to do. And so this is definitely great talk for those who are still in that slot of don't know what they want and they're still being what everyone else told them to be. Can you speak to that person right now as to how to comfort, because you might have to get uncomfortable. So how to get out of that state of pleasing people so that you can get connected to yourself?
I think when we are ready, because I don't want to say able, we're all able, but when we are ready to sit with ourselves, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, and to embrace ourselves with loving kindness and appreciation, that we open ourselves up to an inner knowing that we all have and have always had. But the quieting of the mind shift and allowing ourselves to just relax, sit with ourselves in a loving way, it really begins the flow of thoughts and feelings that come from the inside instead of the outside. And I think for a lot of people, because of the pandemic, they've had the opportunity, maybe they haven't thought of it as an opportunity, but to sit with themselves and more quietly, because we've been restricted in a lot of ways, and therefore our distractions, well, I think that they just became different. So I've talked to a lot of people who felt that this really was a blessing in a lot of ways, that they began a relationship with themselves that they didn't even know that they could create. And I think that's where it starts. And even if it starts slowly, a few minutes a day, but once you start to hear your own voice, it becomes loud and clear, and it guides you from the inside instead of from the outside, because nobody knows better for you than you. I mean, nobody. We are our own greatest resource. We don't hear that enough, but that is the truth. So yeah, be gentle with yourself. Spend some time appreciating yourself. And through knowing what you don't want, it's easy to get clear about what you do want. That's contrast.
Great. Now I'm going to kind of go off the subject, curveball question. What was it like for you publishing this book? Because publishing a book is not an everyday event that everyone does. So what was it like for you even getting the idea of publishing this book, and what was your journey like for you?
We self-published, which is an option for everyone. This book flowed through myself and my co-author. We wrote it in a weekend. It was really, in so many ways, a tribute, once again, to my mother, and a gift to myself. And I never really cared after we wrote this book what was going to happen. I never thought about who's going to read the book, how many copies are going to sell, none of that. And I think we all have a book inside of us. And if you're wanting to write a book, sit down and allow all of that to flow through. And don't worry about what's going to happen after you write, because it doesn't matter. You know, it really doesn't. So it was great. I was really in alignment with this, and it felt like it was something that I was so inspired to write it. And it's timeless. It's 11 years old. And I go back and read it every single month to see what would be changed in the book, and really nothing. So
That's great. Explain to me what your integrative sessions are.
the integrative approach to well-being is really, I think it's just a lovely way to invite people to first identify where they think that they are with themselves. And all of this work is gentle and it's fun, and we use a lot of laughter, and it doesn't feel daunting. Whereas oftentimes people think about doing any kind of therapy and it's scary, you know, they think this is going to be heavy and it's going to be hard and I'm going to have to go back and dig up all those memories and feelings, and it's just none of that. So it's a slow, gentle process of understanding that where you are in this moment is a moment, that it might feel like your whole life, but it's not your whole life. It's one moment of your life and then on to the next one. And what ends up happening in a very short period of time is that people start to feel very empowered and understand that taking personal responsibility for where they are and where they want to go, that it's doable and they're in control of it, and it gets really fun. People end up feeling really self-empowered for themselves, not for another, but for themselves. And I think that's different, because a lot of times people go into therapy and then they feel like they know what's best for everyone else. But this is just about you. You don't know anything that's best for anyone else. You just know what's best for you. So it's a fun, gentle process that moves very fast. And I think at the end, people really know how to help themselves. And that's the goal, you know?
Thank you. All right, so my last question for you, or a request really, can you give some encouraging words to anyone in the audience who has acknowledged they need change in their life, the first step they can take to start this journey?
Baby steps, little baby steps. Sit with yourself for a few minutes every day in appreciation. It sounds so simple, but it goes such a long way. And it gives you the message that you're important and that you value yourself. And from there, be open to receiving, because there is a lot to receive from the inside out. All day long, we're being tapped on the shoulder to be guided, and we're constantly brushing it off. Just been like, not now, I can't be bothered. I mean, our intuition is on call 24/7 and trying to get our attention. So there's so much that you know for yourself. Just be open to receive.
That is all the time we have for you today on Healthy and Wealthy Conversations. I would like to thank our guest, Jamie Lerner, for stopping on by, and you, the audience, for watching. Thank you. Have a great day.